I've spent the last few weeks going down a bit of a rabbit hole. I was getting fed up of seeing the same MMOs recommended over and over again. Every list seems to be World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, Guild Wars 2, Elder Scrolls Online, you get the idea. So I started digging through Steam, MMO forums, Reddit pages, random YouTube channels, old browser gaming communities, pretty much anywhere that I thought I might be able to find something interesting. And somehow I ended up finding 5 MMOs that I've barely heard of or seen talked about in any other videos. Now some of these are rough around the edges, some of them are definitely niche, but all 5 have something that makes them worth checking out. And the final game on this list is probably one that surprised me the most. First up, we have Duel Corp. Technically this isn't a massive traditional MMO with thousands of players running around a giant world, but I couldn't leave it out of this list because there's nothing honestly quite like it available. The first thing that stood out to me about this game is the combat. Most MMOs boil down to pressing abilities on cooldown and standing in the right place. Duel Corp throws that out of the window. Combat is directional, meaning you actually have to think about where you're attacking from and where you're blocking. It's much closer to something like Chivalry or Mordhau than a traditional MMO combat. The first few fights I got into were honestly a bit embarrassing because I realised button mashing weren't going to get me anywhere. This game also gives me massive Dark Souls vibes with the boss fights. What I like the most about Duel Corp is every fight you win feels truly earned. The game also contains PvP and PvE. Its slower, more methodical combat does have a steep learning curve compared to most MMOs, and that's definitely not for everybody. But if you've ever wished for an MMO with skill-based combat and beautiful graphics, then I definitely recommend you check this one out. Next up on the list we have Stalzone, or as some people will know it as StalCraft. This is just a stalker game made into an MMORPG with Minecraft based graphics. It's got the same post-apocalyptic atmosphere, dangerous world and constant feeling that something wants to kill you. And what makes this game interesting is how it blends its MMO elements and progression with survival shooter gameplay. You're leveling up, improving your gear, joining factions, grinding for upgrades, completing story quests, fighting bosses, taking people on in PvP. It has everything you could ever want in an MMORPG. Now don't get me wrong, it's not the prettiest looking MMO in the world and the graphics can be off-putting. It's not the easiest either to get into, but it is very unique and it is an MMO that I think is worth trying. And next we have Nova Raider. Now this one might be the most obscure game on the entire list. Nova Raider is a browser-based MMORPG, and in 2026 browser MMOs are almost extinct. I think most people assume that browser games died years ago, yet somehow Nova Raider is still here and is still being actively played and updated. And at first glance it looks pretty simple. You've got your ships, mining, trading, PvP, quests, crafting and faction warfare. But you'll find the more time you spend with it, the more you realise there's a surprising amount going on beneath the surface and a lot of depth. Now what impressed me the most was not the graphics or the presentation, but the community surrounding Nova Raider and how it captures that old school feel of MMO where you create your own story, make friends or make enemies, and you actually feel a part of the world, or should I say galaxy. You can spend hours building up resources, improving your ship ready for more PvP and bigger battles, and because it's a browser based game it's incredibly easy to jump into. It's definitely old school, some people will take one look at it and immediately dismiss it, but if you're nostalgic for early days of online gaming, this is a hidden gem. Now moving on to Dead Frontier 2, and this is the game that's probably got the most mainstream notoriety on this list. It's a zombie MMO survival game which is already a pretty rare combination. What makes it stand out is the atmosphere. From the moment you start playing it feels extremely tense, and every trip you make out of the safe area feels like a massive risk. A lot of zombie games lose that feeling after a few hours because you become overpowered, but Dead Frontier 2 does a much better job of keeping you uncomfortable. You're constantly thinking about whether you've got enough supplies, whether you should risk exploring another building or going that little bit further out into the world where the zombies could be stronger, faster and a bigger problem for you. The game isn't perfect, it's got some rough edges, but there's something incredibly satisfying about surviving a difficult run and making it back with your valuable loot. If you're a fan of zombie games and MMOs, this is probably the easiest recommendation on this list. Check it out. And finally, we have Spiritvale. This is probably the game I expect the fewest people to have heard about, mainly because it's still very new, but it's also the game that grabbed my attention the quickest. The game is currently available as a demo, the full game is released in July. Spiritvale is an action RPG MMO that focuses on fast-paced combat, character progression, exploration and boss encounters. Rather than trying to be a massive theme park MMO with hundreds of systems fighting for your attention, it keeps things focused and simple, and most people actually enjoy doing, which is leveling up, unlocking new abilities, improving your build and taking on increasingly difficult enemies. What stood out to me straight away was the presentation. The art style is colourful, clean, full of personality. Combat also feels surprisingly responsive. You're dodging attacks, chaining abilities together and actively moving around rather than just standing still waiting for cooldowns. From what I've played, it feels like one of those games that's easy to jump into but still has enough progression to keep you chasing upgrades and experimenting with different builds and playstyles. The game is currently available as a demo and the full release isn't far away, which means if you jump in now, you're getting right at the beginning rather than trying to catch up for years. And honestly, after digging through dozens of obscure MMOs for this video, this is probably the one that I'm most excited about. I might be completely wrong, but I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if a year from now a lot more people are talking about Spiritvale than they are today. Now there you have it, those are 5 MMOs that I think deserve more attention than they're currently getting. And let me know in the comments if you've actually played any of these games before, because honestly I'd be surprised if many people know about them. And if you've got any hidden MMOs that I've missed, let me know also down in the comments. And thanks again for watching.